Welcome to the Growth Matters podcast. Here we discuss topics that motivate and inspire you to grow. Why? Because growth matters. I am your host, Dr. Pamela Davis, a leadership and personal development coach at the PD Experience. Let's get ready to grow. Hello and welcome again. Thank you for joining me for podcast number 3. We are celebrating Women's History Month. And I am over the moon excited today because not only is it March, we're celebrating women, but I have today my very first guest, Ms. Dana Thorpe. You'll get to meet her momentarily, but allow me to set the stage. So last month, I talked to you about how to communicate effectively and more importantly, how to convey and say what you really need to say, how you're wired, how your wiring impacts your behavior and communication style, those contributing factors, and moving from that nice girl to winning woman voice. And so it's so appropriate that today we're talking about I am woman, hear me roar, the power of her. And so my guest is no stranger to leadership and no stranger to being the type of woman that has her own roar, and you're going to hear from her in a moment. So what I thought about when I think of I am woman, hear me roar, I really want today to focus on how we as women along the history of our timeline, we have demonstrated leadership long before we made it to the conference room table. So in our homes, in our communities, we juggle schedules, we have strategic plans to figure out carpool and how to get things prepared for the bake sale, and running our homes is a huge testament to our ability to lead and lead effectively. And so as we talk about the work that Ms. Thorpe has done, I want to focus on not only the leadership element, but also just the connection that we make with each other as women. And so without further ado, I want to bring up Ms. Thorpe. Dana, it is so great to see you and have you in this space. Welcome.
Thank you, Pamela. I am excited to be here. I love today's topic because, as you know, I'm all about women empowerment as well. And so I'm really excited to be able to see you, my friend, and
Yes.
Thrilled about the topic. So
yes,
I'm excited.
This is great. So go ahead and dive in. Just give us your backstory and tell us who you are.
Sure. Well, my name is Dana Thorpe, and I am the owner and founder and owner, of Dana Thorpe Empower LLC, where we empower and equip women to work through emotional hurdles, specifically those dealing with feelings of inadequacy and insignificance, because those tend to be the emotions that our potential gets buried under. And so teaching women how to navigate through that and really just living a more fulfilled and purposed life is what we do. But prior to becoming the founder and owner of Dana Thorpe Empower LLC, I spent a lot of years in leadership, in the healthcare industry, even in ministry. I had ministry I did in my own home. I kind of started there and been doing ministry for quite some time, probably over 15 years now. So empowering women is very near and dear to my heart. I understand almost every role of a woman, being a wife, being a mother, being a career woman. And I myself struggled with overcoming emotional hurdles in my life. And so I realized eventually how much it was holding me back. And so I'm very passionate about helping women to overcome those struggles.
Oh, Dana, I love that message and that focus. Empowerment, sometimes it doesn't come over as easily. And what I mean is just the struggle sometimes when you're in different circles of being able to empower others. So can you share with us how you do that? Like, how is it that you pour into to empower others? Give us ways you've done that.
So I've done that through retreats, through teachings, through speaking, through one-on-one coaching, and really the basis of it for me is it's from a place of authenticity, and it's from just understanding that, you're a woman of faith, I'm a woman of faith. Just understanding that, God created us on purpose and for purpose. When he created man, he could have stopped. He could have been done. But he says it's not good for man to be alone, right? So he created woman. And it's probably a good thing that he did, because he would have gotten himself into more trouble, than he already did if we weren't there. But anyway, realizing that we were created on purpose and for purpose by God himself, right? That's usually where I start. That, if that doesn't validate our value, I don't know what else can, that the God of the universe created us on purpose and for purpose. And so helping women to understand their value and their influence and the impact that they have is one of the foundational principles that I first build on, in getting women to kind of like get grounded in the truth of who they are.
I love that, Dana. So I want to share with our audience that you and I met like 3 years ago, and it's so fitting that we're connecting today, because we are at or about the anniversary of our meeting. So I don't know if you recall the day that we met, but I have my journal, and I know you probably can't
Wow.
see it, but I have the journal, the notes that I took the day that we met. So first of all, this is really our first time seeing each other live.
Yes.
Even if it is virtually. But we've been connected to each other over these 3 years. So one of the things that you just said is the exact same thing that you said 3 years ago, which was your love of coaching and helping people, empowering people. That's what I wrote down. So what do you recall about just our meeting and how we've connected over these last years?
Wow. So Pamela, full disclosure, I was trying to think about, I'm like, oh my goodness, how did we connect? I really could not remember how we connected. Do you remember how we connected?
Yes. So I had just joined the John Maxwell Facebook group. And because at that time I was not as good at connecting, like I was really my true introvert self and preferred to work alone. But had just started reaching out to, and I wanted to reach out to someone who I felt was like me. So I was trolling the John Maxwell Facebook page, and I found you. And I don't know what it was that stood out. I believe it was because we had joined at or around the same time, and I reached out to you on Facebook. So that
Wow.
was like that
Okay.
was the first the first step of us getting to talk, and I think we exchanged contact information and talked for the first time on the phone on March 27th.
Wow. Wow. Yes. The anniversary is almost here. Wow. That's exciting. Well, thank you for jogging my memory. I felt so bad that I could not remember, but I'm so glad you did, my friend. So yes. And, when we connected, I think even when we first talked on the phone on that March 27th, that we were kindred spirits. And I think we shared some of the same values, empowerment, helping others to, develop leadership skills, and just wanting to add value to others. And one thing that I admired about you, Pamela, immediately was that there was no pretense. You were authentically yourself. It's one of the things I still admire about you now. It's not always easy to come across or meet people who are authentic and comfortable with being who they are, whatever version that is that they, see themselves in. And because of that, it allowed me to, be vulnerable and to, trust you with, my strengths, my weaknesses, what I'm struggling with, what I might need help with. And you've been such a great um, encourager. You've empowered me with your encouragement. You've even, equipped me with some skills that, I didn't have. I recall one time when I wanted to, for Global Youth Initiative, I wanted to reach out to schools and, come in and teach the youth there. And I mean, you're an expert in that area. So that was the first thing in my mind. Let me reach out to, Dr. Davis, because I know that she can help me and kind of connecting and cultivating that relationship with the schools. And since then, we've grown to be, friends first, which, I love our friendship. Then, we have been accountability partners for one another, right? Making sure that, we do the things that we say we are going to do and achieve the goals that we say we want to achieve. And you've also been a really strategic thinking partner for me as well. So yeah, we've grown close. We, send each other text message. I'm freaking out. Give me a call. Help me talk through this.
Yes, all of that. And, I completely agree with you, Dana. I think much of what you shared, I identify mostly with just the authenticity and being able to pick up the phone without hesitation, knowing that you are going to give me the unbiased, candid feedback that I need. And yeah, a strategic thought partner, meaning you're going to look at it from, what your experiences, but also based off of what you know about me. And I think when you say accountability partner, I know that's one of the things I preach about, having the type of accountability partner that knows you well, that can remind you of, the goals that you've set, and that's unbiased and wants to see you do well, all of those things. And I feel, our relationship encompasses that. And yes, being able to pick up the phone, and even if for whatever reason you're busy, knowing that this is someone that's still going to get back to me, because if I'm reaching out, it means it's important for you to connect and make sure I'm good. And so despite the fact that we're miles away from each other and not met in person, you really have proven to be that type of friend to me. And I appreciate it. I really do.
Oh, thank you. You as well, my friend.
Yeah. Well, this is good. And so I'm hoping as people are listening and you're thinking about, your goals and dreams, that you have that type of accountability partner, and that if you don't, that this is on your list of tasks to obtain. So I want to shift a little bit, and the topic or the title, I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. Dana, if you could just kind of talk about what that title means to you, and you can take it from any angle you want, whether it's in the workplace, in the home, in your business. What does that title bring to mind?
Sure. So as I was pondering the topic, I had to douse my excitement and say, okay, then you have to really think about like what that means to you, because I just love that. I am woman, hear me roar. For me, it just kind of came down to the word influence. It just came down to the word influence. And even though the theme is I am woman, hear me roar, it doesn't have to be a loud roar, right? Your roar needs to align with who you are, your personality. Like you mentioned, Pamela, that you are, an introvert. That doesn't mean that you don't have a roar. I think sometimes women think that they actually even have to have a large platform in order to, have a roar. And that's not true. We were talking earlier about the different roles of, women, and how we're mothers, we're, we're mothers, we're career women, we're wives, we're aunts, we're, the roles never end, right? But in each one of those roles, we influence. We influence. I think about somebody like Mother Teresa. She was on my mind just this morning, who uh, she never set out to have a public platform. She just set out to add value to people who, needed help. She used her influence. Her influence was wrapped up just in little acts of kindness, little acts of kindness. And then the publicity kind of came to her, but her heart was in the right place. Those acts of kindness were, who she was. She used her personality, her own individualism to, just, my gosh, change the entire world and every nation. So when I think about I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar, it really just comes down to influence. And I'll add that because as women, it goes back to that whole value thing. We don't give ourselves enough credit. We sometimes downplay the influence that we have, especially, I find this with stay-at-home moms, that they really struggle in that area with thinking that, raising their children, organizing those activities after school, carpooling and soccer practices and, football schedules. And now over the last year, like doing this remote thing with teaching, they often feel that that influence is insignificant, and it's so not. So when I hear I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar, it just makes me think about the influence and the impact that we as women have.
Yeah, I love that my roar does not have to be loud. It is, how I move and interact. And so can you think about anything specific that fuels your influence, or maybe where you pull from to influence a space or people?
I do. And for me, for me, it goes back to valuing people. I always value people because they're people.
Yeah.
I honor people because they're people. They're just like me. And goes back to, we were all created in God's image. Therefore, I honor you because we were all created in his image. So I honor God, I honor you. Long before I know about your title, your story, your impact, anything about you, I start from the place of valuing. And then I think it's so important. I like to listen. So when I engage, whether it's in a retreat forum, or, if it's one-on-one coaching, if it's a teaching, I like to listen to kind of hear where people are. And I look for opportunities to add value to people. So for example, if I'm in a teaching session, let's say I'm teaching on like emotions. I teach a lot on emotions and emotional intelligence. And it's so important for me in that space to remind women that you are not your feelings. You are not your feelings. Feelings are indicators. They tell us to take a look inside at what's going on inside of us, but they more times than not don't tell us the truth. So you could be feeling inadequate about something. You could be feeling insecure about a goal that you want to achieve. Let's say you've been thinking about going back to school and, to further your education, and you start to have feelings of fear, feelings of doubt, or feelings of, and letting those things overtake you. That's where I probably do my best work to kind of come in and reassure you that you are a woman of purpose, influence, and significance. And you can't let your feelings boss you around, and really get to the root of where those feelings are coming from, because oftentimes they're not based in truth. So did that answer your question?
Absolutely. And I think the takeaway for me there was just, I am not my feelings, because too often the negative self-talk creeps in, or you or social media leads you to believe that, you know,
Yes.
your 2 likes against, somebody else's 1,000 likes devalues what you have,
Right.
pushed out there. And so, um, yeah, that is a caption that needs to be captioned somewhere. You are not your feelings. Yeah, thank you. That hit me. So, um, something else that I thought about listening to you is, when you are in the workplace, and it could be workplace or church, like how do you find your space at the table? So, the value that you're talking about, how is it that what does your roar or your influence look like when you're seated at the table and there you're interacting with others? Um, and I don't want to paint too much of that, but when you're at the table, how does your roar or your influence come across? How do you make sure it's present?
I one of the things that I do is it goes back to value, right? I realize my value. I know what I bring to the table, and not in a cocky way, but in a confident way, because I'm of the belief that I was created on purpose and for a purpose. And when you start to understand like your purpose and um, your strengths and what it is that you are gifted to give to other people, it makes it a lot easier to, to roar at the table, right? And so, right. And so, understanding though, right, that, sometimes that's met with opposition, understanding that sometimes people won't necessarily agree with your view or, um, you know, your your view or your plan or your suggestion of how something should go, and deciding ahead of time that you're not going to allow that to shake you, but also understanding that there are other ideas that could be better, right, than what it is that you present. So I think again, it has to be based in value and the truth of knowing who you are, so that even if you are met with opposition or not you personally, but let's say your idea, somebody rejects your idea, understanding that they are not rejecting you, so that your confidence is not shaken, so that you come back to the table, right, with that same confidence, based in the truth of who you are, and knowing that you have something to give and something to add.
Yeah, and I see that because sometimes just the repeated rejection or the repeated feeling that I'm being overlooked, I internalize that. And then sometimes it can morph into something way more negative, whether it's negative in terms of like an outward outburst or something internally that you're struggling with that pulls you into a dark space of depression. So I really like the first piece of saying, I know the value I bring. And just because someone opposes an idea does not devalue what it is that I'm bringing. So that's good stuff. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
So I want to start shifting to a close, but if is there anything that you haven't talked about that you think would be good for our audience to hear, especially as we think about I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar? What else is it that you want to share that you believe our audience needs to hear, especially about being a confident woman, recognizing your value and being able to, find your voice?
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything new to add, but I'd like to reinforce some of the points that we already made, because I think that we don't spend enough time there. Knowing who you are, knowing that you add value, you have to really get rooted and grounded in that, because that's your foundation. For when you have to go into the workplace and, uh, still be successful, right? Still thrive in a culture that is not always conducive to a woman, right? So that you're not shaken, that you're not moved, and getting rooted and grounded in the truth of who you are, knowing that you add value. Even if you are a stay-at-home mom and you are raising kids, when I hear stay-at-home moms say, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. You are not just a stay-at-home mom. You are a mom who is investing in your children, influencing your children. And because of that, those kids are going to grow up to be probably some pretty awesome individuals. So it all has to come from a place of being grounded in truth and knowing who you are. And I think a lot of times we quickly move past who I am to what I want to be. But if you don't know who you are, you're going to have a really hard time, deciphering what you want to be. As you know, Dr. Davis, we don't always get a pat on the back for our many, many, many contributions as women.
This is true.
Or it doesn't come as often as we would like it. So again, it's having to get grounded in truth about who you are, knowing that you add value, knowing that your roar is not silent, regardless of what your external environment may be saying to you at times. So I think it's really important to reiterate us as women getting grounded in truth, knowing who we are, and knowing without a doubt that we definitely add value and we have influence.
Yes, yes, yes. Love it. I thank you so much for being here. As I think about this particular episode and even the previous episodes, you have tapped into that reoccurring undercurrent of awareness. Knowing who you are is so, so huge. And I even like to say, I don't want someone to know me better than me, right?
Right.
My strengths, weaknesses, blind spots, and triggers. I don't want somebody leaning in on that blind spot or their trigger because they know me better than I know me. So I think that is so critical.
That's
Well,
really good.
yeah. So today's growth plan, folks, is comprised of 3 takeaways that I just want to make sure are sealed inside of you until our next time. So first, I heard Dana say that we have to value, influence, and impact. Valuing people, influencing them, and impacting them. I love the purpose and mission of her company in empowering women. The second part is she told us that our roar does not have to be resounding. It doesn't have to bounce off of the walls, that we can influence with a voice that may not bounce off of the walls, but can still have impact that goes beneath the surface. And one of the other profound points that she made was looking for opportunities to add value to people. She looks for that. And I know, Dana, that also comes with you being equipped to do that. So you're looking for opportunities. It's almost like the lady in church that has the piece of candy in her purse in anticipation of kids coming up to her, and they
Right.
slide it. The little lady slides it in their hands. So you're looking for opportunities. That she's looking for kids to come up to her. Some of you might be too young to remember that, but nonetheless, it is being intentional and prepared. You're doing it on purpose because that's your premise of adding value to others. Well, again, Dana, I thank you for being here. Just in summary of the Growth Matters podcast, we really want to make women aware and more comfortable with taking charge. We've had a plethora of examples down the timeline of history, and you're in a space with 2 right now who are adamant about taking charge and doing that by having the courage to face our fears. And then finally, the confidence that our roar has a place at the table. Our roar has a place at the table. So please visit my website at www.thepdexperience.net. There you'll be able to take a look at my services, my blog, as well as book me for other trainings. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at the PD Experience. Thanks again to Dana Thorpe for being with us. Until next time, keep